My name is Ben Carter. I'm 34, and for the last 6 years I've lived in a cedar-shingled cabin at the edge of Cedar Falls, Oregon, a place most maps don't bother to name. The forest here is older than the state itself. Douglas firs that have stood since the Lewis and Clark expedition, moss thick enough to swallow sound, and a river that cuts through the valley like a vein of silver. I know every trail, every fallen log, every bear scrape on bark. I have to. It's my job. I used to be a firefighter in Portland. Station 17, the kind of house that ran 20 calls a night. I was good at it. Carried a kid out of a burning duplex once, got my picture in the paper. Then Sarah died. One drunk driver, one rainy intersection, and the world folded in on itself. I quit the department, packed what little we had, and brought Maya, 6 years old now, all freckles and questions, here to the woods. The National Forest Service hired me as a ranger. No sirens, no collapsed roofs, just trees and quiet, and the weight of keeping something alive that was already here before any of us. Our cabin sits a mile off the gravel service road, close-ceil enough for a generator, a wood stove, and a porch that looks west over the ravine. Maya sleeps in the loft. I take the back room. Mornings start the same, coffee boiled on the propane burner, Maya's small hand in mine as we walk the half-mile to the bus stop. Then I shoulder my pack and head into the green. That September morning was crisp, the kind where the air smells like pine needles and cold water. I was checking the West Rim Trail, routine patrol after a dry summer. Fire danger was high. One spark and the whole drainage could go. I had my radio, my Pulaski, a thermos of coffee gone lukewarm. The cliff drops 200 feet to a tangle of devil's club and sword fern. I was scanning for illegal campsites when I heard it, a sound so faint I thought it was wind at first. Then it came again. Human, broken, desperate. Help! I froze. The voice floated up from the base of the cliff, that thin as spider silk. I dropped to my knees at the edge, heart already hammering. Below, half hidden in shadow, a figure lay crumpled against the rock. Dark hair, pale skin, one leg bent wrong, a flash of white fabric, silk maybe, torn and streaked with blood. I didn't think. I unclipped my rope, anchored it to a lodgepole pine, and rappelled down the face. Gravel skittered under my boots. 30 seconds and I was beside her. She was conscious, barely. Mid-30s maybe. City clothes, tailored blouse shredded, linen trousers ripped to the knee. One hand clutched a cracked iPhone like it was a lifeline. Blood soaked her calf. The other ankle was swollen purple. But her eyes, Jesus, those eyes. Green, sharp, terrified. Not the look of a lost hiker, the look of someone running. Don't let them find me, she whispered, voice cracking. Then her head lolled and she went limp. I checked her pulse. Fast, but steady. No ID, no pack, no water bottle. Just the phone and a single gold bracelet glinting on her wrist. I fashioned a splint from a branch in my belt, tied it tight, then hoisted her over my shoulder in a fireman's carry. She weighed nothing. The climb back up was brutal, rope burn on my palms, her breath hot against my neck. But I made it. By the time I laid her on the porch, Maya was at the screen door, eyes wide. "Daddy, is she dead?" "No, baby, she's hurt. Go grab the first aid kit and a blanket." I carried the woman inside, laid her on the couch. Maya hovered, clutching the wool throw like a shield. I cleaned the wounds, deep laceration on the shin, possible fracture in the ankle. She stirred when I poured antiseptic, fingers digging into the cushion. "Easy," I said. "You're safe." Her eyes fluttered open. For a second she looked straight through me, like she was seeing someone else. Then she focused, took in the cabin, the child, the man with blood on his hands. "Where?" "Cedar Falls. My name's Ben. This is Maya. You fell pretty far. What's your name?" She hesitated. The silence stretched long enough that I thought she wouldn't answer. "Alex," she said finally. "Just Alex. No last name." I nodded. "We need to get you to a hospital." "No." The word came out sharp, almost a command. She tried to sit up, winced, collapsed back. "No hospitals, please." Maya tugged my sleeve. "Daddy, she's scared." I looked at the woman, Alex, and saw it wasn't fear of pain. It was fear of being found. I should have called it in. Protocol. But something in her eyes stopped me. I'd seen that look before. On Sarah the night she knew the car was coming. On kids pulled from burning buildings. The look of someone who'd already decided the next breath might be their last. "All right," I said, "well, for now. But you're staying put until that leg can bear weight." She closed her eyes. A single tear tracked down her temple into her hair. Outside, the forest kept its own counsel. Wind moved through the firs like a slow exhale. I didn't know it then, but the moment I carried her over that threshold, everything I thought I was protecting, my daughter, my solitude, the quiet life I'd built from ashes, was already slipping through my fingers. I carried Alex inside and laid her on the spare cot we kept for the rare overnight volunteer. The cabin smelled of wood smoke and coffee grounds. Maya had already dragged the first aid kit from under the sink and was lining up bandages like a tiny medic. Alex's breathing was shallow but steady. I cut away the ruined silk blouse, expensive, I noted, the kind of thing you see in airport boutiques, and cleaned the gash on her shin, deep but no arterial spray. The ankle was another story, swollen, purple, likely fractured. I splinted it with 2 cedar shingles and an old ace bandage, then gave her 2 ibuprofen and a mug of willow bark tea Sarah used to brew for cramps. Alex swallowed without protest, eyes tracking every move I made but seeing. Maya hovered at the foot of the cot, clutching her stuffed orca. "Is she gonna die, Daddy?" "No, kiddo, she's tough. Look, she's already bossing me around with her eyes." Alex's lips twitched, the ghost of a smile. "Water," she croaked. I filled a tin cup from the cooler. She drank greedily, then sank back, exhaustion pulling her under. Maya tugged my sleeve. "Can I stay and watch her?" "School bus in 20. Go grab your backpack." Maya scampered up the ladder to the loft. I covered Alex with the quilt my mother-in-law pieced together the year Sarah died. Heavy wool, faded blues and greens. Alex's fingers curled into the fabric like she was anchoring herself to something solid. When Maya thundered back down, lunchbox swinging, I walked her to the bus stop. The gravel road was still damp with dew. Chickadees flitted between alders. Maya kept glancing back at the cabin. "Will she be there when I get home, Bo? Unless she sprouts wings, yeah." The bus hissed to a stop. Maya climbed aboard, pressed her face to the window, waved until the yellow disappeared around the bend. I stood there a minute longer, listening to the engine fade, then turned back. Alex was awake when I stepped inside. Propped on one elbow, she was studying the room. The riverstone hearth, the hand-hewn beams, the shelf of field guides, and Maya's crayon drawings taped above the wood stove. Her gaze landed on the photo Sarah had insisted we take the day we moved in. Maya on my shoulders, both of us grinning like fools, the forest a dark wall behind us. "You live alone with her?" Alex asked, voice stronger now, but still careful. "Pretty much. Nearest neighbor's 3 miles east, and he's 92 and deaf as a post." She nodded, taking that in. "No wife?" The question hung between us. I busied myself stoking the fire. "Not anymore." Silence. The kind that fills a room when someone's deciding how much truth to give. I didn't push. Instead, I ladled venison stew from the pot on the stove, leftovers from last night, and set a bowl on the tray table beside her. "Eat. You'll need strength if you're planning to vanish again." She managed 3 spoonfuls before the spoon slipped from her fingers. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "for the trouble." "Trouble's relative. I once pulled a porcupine out of a culvert. You're less prickly." That earned a real smile. Small, but there. She slept again after that, feverish, murmuring fragments I couldn't catch. I sat in the rocker with my logbook, pretending to update patrol notes while actually watching the rise and fall of her chest. Every so often she flinched, as if someone were chasing her in dreams. By afternoon, the rain started, soft Pacific drizzle that turned the forest into watercolor. I radioed in a vague, "Found injured hiker stabilizing at cabin, will transport when safe." No need to give coordinates yet. The dispatcher, Jolene, who'd known Sarah, asked if I needed backup. I told her negative. Something in me wasn't ready to hand Alex over. Maya burst through the door at 3:30, soaked despite her raincoat, eyes bright. "Is she awake?" "Shh, come see." Alex was propped up, hair damp from fever sweat, but alert. Maya climbed onto the cot's edge like it was a raft. "Hi, I'm Maya. I'm 6. This is my whale. His name is Finney. He lost an eye in a sword fight with a seagull." Alex's laugh was rusty but genuine. Finny looks brave. I once knew a whale who swallowed a submarine. Maya's mouth formed a perfect O. Did he spit it out? Eventually, after the crew promised to recycle their plastic. They were off. Pirates, mermaids, a kraken who only ate broccoli. I stood in the doorway, arms folded, feeling something loosen in my chest I hadn't known was knotted. Maya had that effect. She could turn a stranger into family in 5 minutes flat. Later, after Maya was asleep in the loft, I checked Alex's fever, down to 100.2. Good. I swapped the ice pack on her ankle, adjusted the splint. She watched me with those sharp eyes. "You're good at this," she said. "Practice." Maya broke her arm at 4, climbed the bunk bed like it was Everest. "You miss her mother." It wasn't a question. I nodded once. Every day. Alex looked toward the window where rain traced silver paths down the glass. "I don't have children," she said quietly. "Never found the right anything." I didn't fill the silence. Some truths don't need echoing. That night I took the couch, rifle by the door out of habit. Bears, not people. Around 2 a.m. I woke to the creak of floorboards. Alex was at the kitchen window, silhouetted against moonlight, staring into the dark like it might swallow her. "Couldn't sleep?" I kept my voice low. She startled, then relaxed when she saw it was me. "Every sound, I think it's them." "Who's them?" She shook her head. "It doesn't matter, not tonight." I poured her water, handed it over. Our fingers brushed. Static or something else. She drank, then surprised me by asking, "Read any good bedtime stories lately?" I snorted. "Maya's into pirates. I'd do a mean Captain Hook. Show me." So I did. Sat on the floor beside the cot, voice pitched low, acting out the crocodile's tick-tock with my watch. Alex's eyes never left my face. When I finished, she was asleep, one hand curled near mine on the quilt. Outside, an owl called. Inside, the fire settled into embers. I stayed on the floor a while longer, listening to 2 heartbeats, one small and steady in the loft, one fragile and new on the cot, and wondered what the hell I'd just invited into our quiet life. The next 11 days passed like a slow thaw after a long winter. Alex healed in increments. The fever broke on day 3, the ankle stayed purple, but began to bear weight by day 7. I kept her off the radio, told Jolene the hiker was recovering and would hike out when ready. Each morning I left a thermos of coffee and a note, "Back by noon, holler if you need anything," then patrolled the ridges, eyes scanning for smoke or tracks that didn't belong. Every evening I returned to find the cabin transformed. Alex had discovered the joy of simple tasks. She hobbled to the garden on crutches I'd whittled from alder, kneeling to weed the carrots with the same focus she might once have given a boardroom. She learned to flip pancakes without scorching them, laughing when batter splattered the stove like abstract art. Maya appointed herself sous chef, standing on a stool to stir scrambled eggs while Alex narrated the eggs' imaginary journey from hen to plate. The kitchen filled with their voices. Maya's high and bright, Alex is low and amused, and for the first time since Sarah, the cabin didn't echo. Alex read to Maya from the field guides I kept on the shelf, the Sibley Guide to Trees, Mushrooms Demystified, turning Latin names into tongue twisters. She taught Maya how to identify salmonberry by the rasp of its leaf, how to tell a Douglas fir from a hemlock by the underside of the needles. Maya soaked it up like rain on moss. One afternoon I came home to find them on the porch, Alex sketching a map of the forest on the butcher paper, Maya adding stick figure animals with crayons. "She says the forest is a library," Maya announced, "and every tree is a different book." Alex glanced up, cheeks flushed from sun. "Some books just take longer to read." I raised an eyebrow. "You always talk like that? Or is the altitude getting to you?" She laughed, full-throated, unguarded, and something in my chest cracked open. Nights were quieter. After Maya was asleep, Alex and I sat by the fire. She asked about patrol routes, fire ecology, the politics of prescribed burns. I asked about her life before the cliff. She gave pieces, never the whole puzzle. "I grew up in cities," she said one night, poking the logs until sparks flew. "Concrete and glass. My grandfather built things, factories, pipelines. I was supposed to inherit the blueprint, Supposed to? She shrugged. Blueprints change. I didn't press. Instead, I showed her how to split kindling with a hatchet, how to read the smoke curls to predict wind shifts. She had quick hands, lawyer's hands, long fingers, precise. When she split her first log clean in two, she whooped like a kid, then winced as the motion jarred her ankle. I caught her before she fell, one arm around her waist, her breath warm against my neck. We stayed like that a beat too long. Sorry, she murmured. Don't be. The next day it rained, a steady northwest soak that turned the forest floor to sponge. Alex insisted on helping cover the chicken coop tarp. She slipped on the slick boards, went down hard. I was there in 2 strides, hauling her up. Something fell from her pocket, a black credit card, heavy as a poker chip, titanium. It landed face up in the mud. Alexandra Hartwell. The name hit me like a slap. I'd seen it on protest signs in the local paper, Hartwell Industries to log 50,000 acres of old growth, the company that wanted to turn Cedar Falls into stump fields and subdivisions. I stared at the card, then at her. She didn't flinch, just stood there in the rain, water streaming off her hair, waiting. Alexandra Hartwell, I said slowly. As in the Hartwell? She nodded once. You're the CEO. Was. Her voice was steady. I quit the morning I fell. I looked at the cabin, at Maya's rain boots by the door, at the forest that had raised my daughter. You were going to sign the papers to cut this place down. I was. She met my eyes. And then I couldn't. The rain drummed on the tin roof. I wanted to be angry. God, I should have been, but all I felt was the weight of her confession, heavy as wet wool. Why tell me now? Because you deserve to know who's sleeping under your roof. And because, she swallowed, because I'm tired of lying. I picked up the card, wiped the mud off with my thumb, handed it back. You can stay until the ankle's solid. After that, we figure out what happens next. She took the card, fingers brushing mine. Thank you. That night, the rain kept falling. Maya was asleep, dreaming of pirate whales. Alex sat on the couch with her leg propped on a crate, staring into the fire. I poured 2 fingers of bourbon, Sarah's bottle, untouched for years, and offered her a glass. To blueprints that change, I said. She clinked her glass against mine. To forests that don't, we drank. The bourbon burned clean. The bourbon. Outside, the storm moved east, leaving the air washed new. Inside, the fire settled into coals, and for the first time in 11 days, I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But I knew I wasn't ready to let her walk away from it. Day 11 broke clear and hot, the kind of September day that fools you into thinking summer's still got fight left. I woke before dawn, checked Alex's ankle, swelling down, bruises shifting to yellow, and left a note. Fire danger extreme, back by lunch. Maya was already up, packing her sketchbook for a field trip to the ranger station. Alex promised to braid her hair pirate style. I kissed the top of my daughter's head, shouldered my pack, and headed out. By 9, the wind had teeth. I smelled smoke before I saw it, thin, acrid, coming from the northwest drainage. My radio crackled, Jolene's voice, tight. Ben, we've got a spot fire off Coyote Creek. Lightning strike. It's crowning. I ran. The trail was 2 miles of switchbacks. I made it in 20 minutes, boots pounding duff. When I crested the ridge, flames licked the canopy, orange ribbons racing through fir needles like lit fuses. I keyed the mic. Carter on scene. It's running uphill. Need air support. Now. Static. Then a voice I didn't expect. Calm, precise, cutting through the chaos. This is Alexandra Hartwell, requesting immediate airdrop at coordinates 44.7 north, 121.9 west. Wind 15 from the southwest, gusting 20. Prioritize the eastern flank. It's the only containment line. I spun. Alex stood 20 yards behind me, leaning on a cedar staff I'd carved, hair tied back, face streaked with soot. She held my spare radio like she'd been born to it. What the hell are you doing here? Saving your forest. She didn't look at me, eyes on the fire. Tankers inbound, 5 minutes. The first super scooper roared overhead, belly swollen with water. It banked, released, a pink waterfall that slammed the flames into steam. Ground crews cheered over the radio. I grabbed Alex's arm. How did you Later. She pulled free, limped toward the command post I'd improvised under a madrone. "We need a burnout here." She traced a line in the dirt with the staff. "Or it jumps the creek by noon." I stared. The woman who 11 days ago couldn't walk was directing a fire suppression operation like a 4-star general. And every crew chief listened. By dusk, the fire was ringed. Exhausted firefighters slumped against engines, faces black with char. I found Alex sitting on a log, ankle re-swollen, hands trembling around a bottle of water. The sun bled out behind the ridge, painting the smoke gold. "You're Alexandra Hartwell," I said. Not a question, she nodded. "I was supposed to sign the logging permits yesterday morning, board meeting in Portland. Instead, I drove east, ditched the car at a trailhead and started walking. I didn't plan the fall, just kept going until the cliff stopped me." I sat beside her. The heat still radiated from the ground. "Why?" She looked at the blackened trees, then at me. "Because every time I closed my eyes, I saw this place. Your cabin. Maya's drawings on the fridge. I kept thinking, if I sign, I erase that. I erase you." A helicopter thumped overhead, searchlight sweeping the burn. I keyed the radio. "Command, this is Carter. Fire's contained. Send rehab crews at first light." "Copy, Ben. Nice work. And tell Ms. Hartwell the governor's office called. Wants a statement." Alex closed her eyes. They found me. That night we drove back in silence, the truck cab thick with smoke and unspoken questions. Maya was asleep on the couch when we slipped in, Finny the whale tucked under her chin. I built up the fire. Alex sank into the rocker, leg propped on a crate. "Talk," I said. She did. Words spilled like water over a dam. Grandfather's empire, the pressure to expand, the clause that would clear-cut Cedar Falls for a biomass plant. She'd fought it for months, lost every vote. The night before the board meeting, she'd stood on the balcony of her penthouse, looked west toward the Cascades, and felt the cliff calling. I thought if I disappeared, the deal would die. Coward's way out. "You almost died for real." "But I didn't." She met my eyes. "Because of you." I poured 2 mugs of tea, chamomile, no bourbon tonight. "What happens when they come for you?" "They already are." She pulled a satellite phone from her pocket. Sleek corporate issue. "My grandfather's security team. They'll trace the radio call tomorrow, maybe the next day." I set the mugs down. "You could run again." "No." She shook her head. "My running ends here. I'm done hiding." Outside, an owl called. Inside, the fire settled into coals. I thought of Maya's pirate maps, of the garden Alex had weeded with lawyers' hands, of the way she'd looked at my daughter like she was seeing sunlight for the first time. "Then we face it together," I said. She reached across the space between us, fingers finding mine. Her hand was calloused now from splitting kindling, from holding a staff through fire. It fit in mine like it had always belonged there. Above us, the loft creaked, Maya turning in her sleep. Alex's voice was barely a whisper. "I don't know what tomorrow brings, Ben. But tonight, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." I squeezed her hand. The fire popped, sending sparks up the chimney into the dark. Somewhere out there, SUVs were already rolling down forest roads, headlights cutting through the night. But in here, for 1 more hour, the world was just 3 heartbeats and the smell of smoke in our clothes. The SUVs arrived at dawn, 4 black Suburbans kicking up gravel like a funeral procession. I was splitting kindling on the porch when the first one crested the rise, tires crunching. Maya, still in her pajamas, peered through the screen door. Alex stood behind her, face pale but composed, hair pulled back in a knot that made her look younger than her years. "Stay inside, kiddo," I told Maya. She clutched Finny and obeyed. The lead vehicle stopped 10 feet from the steps. Doors opened in unison. 6 men in dark suits, earpieces glinting, one carrying a tablet like a shield. Last to emerge was an older man, silver-haired, tailored overcoat despite the heat. His eyes, same green as Alex's, locked on her with the cold precision of a sniper. "Alexandra." His voice carried the weight of boardrooms. "Enough games. She stepped forward, leaning lightly on the cedar staff. "Hello, grandfather?" He didn't acknowledge me. "You've caused a media circus. The stock dropped 4 points yesterday. Get in the car." "No." The word hung in the morning air. A crow cawed overhead, then thought better of it. The old man's gaze shifted to me. "Mr. Carter, is it? You're trespassing on private property. Release my granddaughter." "This is Forest Service land," I said, "and she's not a prisoner." One of the suits moved toward the porch. I stepped in front, axe still in hand. "Touch her and you'll need a medic." Alex placed a hand on my arm. "It's okay, Ben." "It's not." Grandfather Hartwell smiled without warmth. "We have a warrant. Kidnapping, extortion. The girl's testimony will seal it." Maya's small voice piped from the doorway. "Daddy didn't kidnap anybody. She fell and he saved her." The old man didn't glance down. "Children lie for their parents." Alex's grip tightened. "I'm not going with you." "You don't have a choice," he gestured. 2 suits advanced. I raised the axe, not swinging, just holding ground. "Over my dead body." The tablet guy started filming. "Assault with a deadly weapon," he narrated. "Clear evidence." Alex stepped between us, staff planted like a flag. "Stop!" She faced her grandfather. "You want me? Fine. But you leave them alone." "Alex," I started. She silenced me with a look. "This ends now." They cuffed me in front of Maya. The metal bit cold into my wrists. She screamed, lunging past the screen door, but a suit caught her gently, held her back. Alex was escorted to the second SUV, door slamming like a coffin lid. I caught her eyes through the tinted glass. Apology, terror, resolve. Then the convoy reversed, dust swirling, and they were gone. Maya clung to my leg as the taillights disappeared. "They took her, Daddy. They took Ko-Rung." I knelt, held her tight. "We'll get her back, baby, I promise." They processed me at the county jail. Prints, mugshot, the whole circus. Charges: kidnapping, false imprisonment, attempted extortion. Bail set at $500,000. I sat in a holding cell that smelled of bleach and despair, replaying Alex's face in the window. Maya was with Mrs. Delgado, the neighbor who'd watched her during fire season. I had no phone call left. They'd taken everything. Night fell. The cell's fluorescent hum was the only sound. I stared at the concrete wall, tracing cracks like fault lines, when the door buzzed open. "Carter, you're out." I blinked. The deputy wouldn't meet my eyes. "Who posted bail?" "Doesn't matter. Move!" Outside, the air tasted like freedom and pine. A lone figure waited under the sodium light. Alex, wrapped in a blanket, hair loose, eyes red-rimmed. She held a manila folder. "They dropped the charges," she said. "All of them." "How?" She handed me the folder. Inside, a press release, a deed transfer, a resignation letter. Hartwell Industries divesting 50,000 acres to the Oregon Conservation Trust. Her signature at the bottom, dated yesterday. "I sold everything," she whispered. "My shares, my condo, the vineyard in Napa. Bought the land outright. It's protected. Permanently." I stared, numb. "Your grandfather is ruined. The board voted him out this afternoon. Falsifying evidence against a federal employee doesn't play well on CNBC. Maya's voice rang from the parking lot. "Daddy!" She barreled into my legs, Mrs. Delgado trailing behind with a sheepish smile. Alex knelt, wincing as her ankle protested. "Hey, pirate!" Maya threw her arms around Alex's neck. "I knew you'd come back." Alex looked up at me, tears tracking clean paths through the soot on her cheeks. "I couldn't leave you to pay for my mistakes." I pulled her to her feet, careful of the ankle. "You lost everything." "No." She pressed her forehead to mine. "I found what matters." Behind us, the jail doors clanged shut. Ahead, the road wound back to Cedar Falls, our forest, our cabin, our life. I took Maya's hand in one of mine, Alex's in the other. 3 silhouettes against the dawn, walking toward whatever came next. We came home to a silence that felt earned. The cabin smelled of pine soap and fresh bread. Mrs. Delgado had left a loaf cooling on the counter, a note tucked beneath. "Welcome back. The forest kept your secret." Maya ran straight to the loft, dragging Alex by the hand to show her the new birdhouse she'd painted while we were gone. Alex limped up the ladder, laughing when Maya declared it fit for a pirate queen. I stood in the doorway watching them and felt the ground settle under me for the first time in weeks. The charges were gone, the land was safe, and the woman who'd fallen into my life was climbing my daughter's bunk bed like it was the most natural thing in the world. That night we ate on the porch. Venison stew, cornbread, blackberry jam. Maya had helped pick. Alex's ankle was rewrapped in a proper brace the clinic had given her. She flexed it experimentally, wincing. "Still ugly," she said. "Matches the company," I replied. She snorted, then grew quiet, staring at the ridge where the fire had burned. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop. It won't. Not tonight." We put Maya to bed early. She was asleep before the second page of The Princess Bride. Alex lingered in the loft, smoothing Maya's hair, whispering something I couldn't catch. When she came down, she moved like a woman carrying invisible weight. I poured 2 mugs of tea, chamomile again, no bourbon. We sat by the fire. Outside, a barred owl called out. "I sold the vineyard," she said suddenly. "The penthouse, the jet shares, everything." "I know." "I kept one thing." She reached into her pocket, pulled out a small cedar box. Inside lay a single acorn, polished smooth. "From the tree you anchored your rope to, the one that held when I fell." I turned it over in my palm. "You planning to plant an empire?" "Planning to plant a memory." She took it back, closed the box. "The Taurus Hartwell Center opens in spring. You're listed as director. I hope that's okay." I laughed, short, surprised. "From ranger to boss man, Maya will demand a corner office. She can have the whole loft." We let the fire burn low. Somewhere in the hush, her hand found mine. We didn't kiss, not yet. There was too much still unspoken, too many scars. But the space between us had shrunk to the width of a heartbeat. The months that followed were the kind you measure in small miracles. Alex learned to split kindling without cursing. I learned to read environmental impact statements without falling asleep. Maya learned long division and how to whistle with an acorn cap. We built a greenhouse from salvaged windows, planted tomatoes that actually ripened. Alex taught me to draft a news release. I taught her to start a fire with wet wood and sheer stubbornness. The center took shape on a cleared meadow 2 miles down the service road. Timber frame building, solar panels, a classroom with a river stone fireplace. Alex hired lawyers who'd once fought her family's projects. I hired rangers who'd once fought her. We argued over budgets, over whether to serve coffee or tea at meetings, over whose turn it was to read Maya her bedtime story. The arguments always ended the same way, her head on my shoulder, my arms around her waist, the fire settling into embers. Summer came. The burn scar from the fire sprouted fireweed and lupine, purple and defiant. We took Maya camping at the cliff where it all began. Alex limped to the edge, looked down, and laughed, sharp, free. I used to think falling was the worst thing that could happen. And now I think it was the only way up. We planted the acorn that night in a circle of stones. Maya watered it with river water carried in a tin cup. Alex's hand rested on my daughter's shoulder. Mine rested on Alex's. 3 shadows against the moonlit cliff, rooted. But the body keeps its own accounts. In August, Alex started tiring faster. Naps in the hammock, coffee left half drunk. She blamed the heat. I blamed myself for not noticing sooner. The clinic in town ran blood work. The results came back on a Tuesday that smelled of rain. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. Mets to the liver. The doctor's voice was gentle, clinical. Aggressive. Maybe months with treatment. Alex listened without flinching. When we stepped outside, she looked at the sky like she was reading a contract she'd already decided to tear up. "No chemo," she said. "No hospitals. I've spent enough of my life in rooms that smell like antiseptic." I wanted to argue. God, I wanted to beg. But the set of her jaw stopped me. She'd earned the right to choose her ending. We told Maya together, on the porch swing, fireflies blinking in the dusk. Alex used the pirate voice Maya loved. "Captain Rung has a new adventure. She's sailing to a place where the trees never stop growing." Maya cried, then asked if she could still visit. Alex promised she could, anytime she needed. The center opened in September. Alex cut the ribbon with garden shears, ankle long-heeled, hair shorter now, threaded with silver. She gave a speech about second chances and the cost of courage. I stood in the back, Maya on my shoulders, and felt the weight of every eye on the woman who'd traded an empire for a forest. Winter came early. Alex spent more days in bed, the quilt pulled to her chin, Maya reading to her from The Hobbit. I cooked broth, split wood, kept the fire high. Some nights Alex woke gasping, reaching for me. I held her until the tremors passed, whispering the names of trees: Douglas fir, western red cedar, big leaf maple, like a lullaby. One afternoon in November, snow just starting to stick, she asked me to carry her to the cliff. I wrapped her in the wool quilt, carried her the mile through fresh powder. Maya walked ahead, scattering birdseed for the chickadees. We sat on the same log where we'd watched the fire burn itself out. Alex's breath clouded the air. I used to think power was measured in acres owned. Turns out it's measured in acres saved. I couldn't speak. She took my hand, placed it over her heart. Feel that? Still beating? Because of you. Maya curled between us, small hand on Alex's knee. Will you be a tree when you go? Alex smiled, weak but radiant. The biggest one. You'll find me by the river bend. That night, she slipped into a coma. We kept vigil, Maya asleep on the cot, me in the rocker, the fire never allowed to die. At 3:17 a.m., her breathing changed, shallow, then nothing. I closed her eyes, kissed her forehead, and felt the cabin exhale with her. We scattered her ashes at the cliff at dawn, snow falling soft as forgiveness. Maya placed the cedar box with the empty acorn cup at the base of the sapling we'd planted. It had grown 6 inches that summer. Alex was wrong about one thing. She didn't become the biggest tree. She became the whole forest, every root, every needle, every bird call carrying her name. 3 years slipped by the way water moves over river stones, quiet, constant, reshaping everything without announcement. Maya turned 9 the spring after Alex left us. She grew taller than the garden fence, hair still wild with curls, eyes still holding that pirate spark. The Torres Hartwell Environmental Law Center thrived on the meadow 2 miles down the road, cedar beams silvered by weather, solar panels glinting like scales, classrooms filled with kids who learned to read contracts the way Maya once learned to read tide pools. I ran the place the way Alex would have wanted, less paperwork, more dirt under fingernails. We hired rangers who'd once fought Hartwell clear-cuts, lawyers who'd once sued them. Maya had her own desk in the corner, a tiny thing carved from a single slab of madrone, where she drafted pirate treaties to protect salamanders. Visitors called her the junior director. She called them crew. Cedar Falls itself became legend. The 50,000 acres Alex bought with her empire's ashes were designated permanent old-growth reserve. Hartwell Industries collapsed under fraud charges. Grandfather Hartwell traded his corner office for a federal prison jumpsuit. The biomass plant never broke ground. Instead, the forest knit its scars with fireweed and nurse logs, and the cliff where Alex fell grew a skirt of young hemlock. Every autumn, we held a festival at the trailhead. Kids planted acorns in coffee cans, rangers led night hikes. Maya told the story of the woman who fell from the sky and saved the trees. She never embellished. Alex had taught her that truth was wilder than fiction. On the 3rd anniversary of Alex's death, Maya asked to lead the hike alone. I watched from the back of the group, 20 third graders, parents with thermoses, a reporter from Portland. Maya wore Alex's old wool coat, sleeves rolled 4 times, the cedar staff as her pointer. She stopped at the cliff, exactly where I'd found Alex. The sapling we'd planted was now chest high, needles soft as paintbrushes. "This is the Alexandra Hartwell Trail," Maya announced, voice carrying over the wind. "My dad says she was rich, owned buildings taller than redwoods, but she gave it all away to keep this forest standing." A boy in a Batman cape raised his hand. "Why?" Maya knelt, pressed her palm to the bark, because she learned some things can't be bought, like this tree, like the sound of the river at night, like the way my dad smiles when he thinks no one's looking. The group laughed. I swallowed hard. Maya continued. "So, Alex, She asked us to call her that, said the forest isn't ours to own, it's ours to protect. So every year we plant a tree for someone we love. Today we're planting for her. She passed out acorns. Kids dug holes with plastic shovels. Parents helped tamp soil. When the last one was in, Maya stood on the log where Alex and I once sat watching fire. "She's not gone," Maya said simply. "She's the roots holding this place together, and every time you walk here, you're walking with her." The reporter asked for a quote, Maya thought, then pointed to the wooden sign we'd carved the first spring. "The things worth keeping are the ones you can't buy back." I lingered after the group left, boots crunching on frost. The sapling's needles caught the low sun, glowing like emeralds. I touched the bark, rough now, real. Maya's voice drifted back from the trail, telling some kid about the kraken who only ate broccoli. I smiled, the way Alex used to when Maya spun her wild tales. The forest smelled of snow coming, of sap and moss and the faint smoke of someone's wood stove miles away. Somewhere an owl woke early. Alex had been wrong about one thing. She didn't become the biggest tree. She became the space between them, the air we breathe, the stories we tell, the quiet certainty that some choices echo longer than lifetimes. Maya ran back, cheeks red, breath fogging. "Dad, the kids want to name the trail after Finny the whale!" I laughed, the sound startling a jay into flight. "Tell them Captain Rung approves." She grabbed my hand, small fingers warm in mine. Together we walked the path that bore Alex's name, boots printing twin tracks in the frost, father and daughter, ranger and pirate, keepers of a forest that would outlive us both. And high on the cliff the wind moved through the hemlock like a woman's laugh, soft and everlasting.